Hello everybody. I'm going to talk about small hive beetle control today. So you can see a bunch of my hives here in the background, part of my tractor. I put the veil on because as soon as I got out here I got popped right in the cheek. They've been really feisty this morning. Don't know why. It's a beautiful day, other than they know something's going on and they don't want me here, so they popped me. It's really hot in this suit, but figured I better do this video down here talking about small hive beetles and how to control them. Depending on where you're at in the United States, some places are really bad, some are really nice. Never really had to deal with them up north. I come down here and I really don't have a problem with small hive beetles. There's certain areas in East Tennessee that when I do the inspections you can tell there's bad areas, and then other areas will be fine. Well, my control here, my neighbor has a problem with small hive beetles. I don't have at all. So I put it to the way I control them. You can use the beetle blasters and the, I mean, there's tons of different ways to do it. Freeman boards, the IPM board, which is the screen bottom boards. People come up with all kinds of gadgets and stuff to sell you. And that's mainly, most of it is they want to sell you something. And you want the easy quick fix, so you buy it. Well, so let's get a little bit into the small hive beetle itself. They have a great sense of smell. They smell the pollen and nectar and even the brood when they get close enough, or the brood chambers, the cells. Sorry. Sweat's just dripping off me. It's over 90 degrees and I'm standing here in a suit. So they can smell a hive, a distressed hive, about 5 miles away. That's a pretty good sense of smell. Since I smell these girls, but I mean, I'm pretty close to them. They can smell their own dead from 3 miles away. So remember that. 3 miles away they can smell their own dead. And they don't like to cross that line of death. But back to this, their sense of smell. So they smell a hive 5 miles away, and they come check out the hive. Now, hive beetles fly at night, so if you have your hives in full sunlight like this, or some of the other ones over there in the shade, it doesn't really matter. You're creating more work for the bees to keep it cool in the summer, like on these 90-degree days. When it gets up past that, they're really working, they're fanning to keep that air conditioning going inside their hive and keep it at the proper temperature. Hive beetles fly at night because they are pitch black and they do not like the sunlight. I mean, if you open up the hive, you'll see a couple hive beetles once in a while. They'll fly off, but mainly they're trying to get away from you. So you can put it in full sunlight, you can put it in the shade. Doesn't really matter to the hive beetle when it's coming in at night. We like to work them in the shade. It's easier on us, but you really need that morning sun to kind of wake up the bees and get them flying. So that's always good to have them in the sunlight. They used to whitewash the hives, so that helped with the bacteria, and they would put them up in the woods and in the shaded areas. That's typically why the hives are white nowadays. You'll see more and more beekeepers there buying the cheap paint that they can find at Lowe's or Home Depot for, you know, the $5–10 bucket. So you'll get multiple colors. Like, I think I have multiple colors out here. Yeah, there's some different colors. Some of them are stained. But anyways, back to the small hive beetle. So they smell that hive, they fly in at night or early morning or dusk. They like the brood chamber. You find them on the inner cover because that's where the bees chase them. They're not going to go back out the front entrance because there's light there. So they chase them, and the hive beetles run from the bees, and eventually they get up to the inner cover. There's nothing for the honeybees to do up there or guard, so they just kind of keep the hive beetles up there. That's why when you open up the hive, you see a bunch of hive beetles on the inner cover, and you're like, oh my goodness. The bees are doing a good job. They're chasing them up. Now the males, they breed with female, and the males don't really do too much in the hive other than eat a little bit of their own honey. The female is what you're worried about. She actually will, just before the larva is capped, or even after it's slightly been capped, she will cut a little bit of hole into the wax, and she'll stick her, I can't remember what it's called right offhand, but she sticks it down into the into the larva, into the cell there, and she will rotate, and it will lay like 5 to 8 eggs in each cell, and then she'll go to another cell. So those eggs will hatch, and then they start eating, and I think it's about, what is it, I hate to say wrong here, but always look up what I'm about to say here. I think it's about 10 days they eat inside the hive, and then they are this, well, I put my fingers too wide, they're about 1 inch to 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches long larva, and they crawl out the front entrance, and they get on the ground, and then they crawl, and they keep crawling until they find the right type of soil, right moisture, right density, and they go down into the soil about 2 inches or so, about 1 inch, and then they pupate, and that takes different time at different times of the year and different moistures in the soil. So when they get done, they're a full-size hive beetle adult, and then they come back up and they get in your hive again, and then it all starts all over again. So you can get a big infestation of hive beetles very quickly. So how do I control them? Well, I mentioned the different types of boards and different traps. Some people use nematodes, and they put it around the, around the base of the hives, and that way when the larva goes out and goes in the ground, the nematode will actually inject some bacteria into the larva of the small hive beetle, and then that nematode comes back and it basically eats the soup after the bacteria has ate up the small hive beetle. So nematodes are good, but you have to buy a lot of nematodes, saturate the soil, and then that's depending on if the soil is good for the nematodes to survive in. So I do something much easier, and it's cheap. You're doing it anyways, kind of. So back to that sense of smell, that 3 miles away they can smell their own dead, and there's that line of death that they do not like to cross. You're going to kill the hive beetle if you see it in your hive anyways. Drop it right in front of the hive. So if I got some nukes out here, but if you're standing here at this hive and I see a hive beetle and I kill it, drop it right in front of the entrance, right on the ground. You can drop it right on the entrance board, but the bees will move it. So if you drop it just in front of the hive here, and they don't like to cross that line of death. So I've been doing that every time I find hive beetles. Seems to work very well for me. I'm going back over here in what little bit of shade I got. So I've been doing that for years, and when I go out on inspections, everybody kind of finds this a little funny, is I go out on the inspections, if there's a bunch of hive beetles and I kill a bunch, I'll throw some in my pocket. And I always get that look at the beekeepers like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, taking hive beetles home. Fine, take as many as you want. And then I tell them why I'm doing it, and they start doing it, and they've noticed a big drop in the population of hive beetles. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, well, you haven't lost any money. You're killing the hive beetles anyways. Throw them in front of the hive instead of throwing them behind the hive. Behind the hive that's not where the entrance to the hive is. In front of the hive is where the entrance is. They don't like to cross that line of death. If they're flying towards your hive and the beetles are behind the hive, it doesn't matter. They're going to fly in the entrance. If they're coming from the backside, then they're going to make a big swoop around, and they may come in from the front. So if your friend's got a lot of hive beetles and you don't, go over and kill a few and bring them home and sprinkle them in front of the hives. Can't hurt. So I know that's a long video for a quick explanation of hive beetles, but I wanted you to kind of get a little bit of backstory on what I do and why I do it, why the hive beetles breed so well sometimes and other times they don't. It's the soil. There was a University of Florida grad student who did his information, or his boy, there goes that word, I can't remember it. But he did a study on the small hive beetle, and he actually watched the larva and come out of the hive, drop down, and it started crawling. And it crawled further than this field. It crawled, I think it was 120 some, 130 some yards to find the proper soil. That was across a hot Florida parking lot in the middle of the day. So it was burning. He watched a few of them kind of burn up and dry out and die, which is fine by me. But a few of them did make it, and they made it all the way over to the flower bed next to one of the buildings, and they pupated there. So they are a hardy little thing. Another good way to kill hive beetle is hive tool. It's cheap, you got it anyways. But throw them in front of the hive. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you haven't lost any money. I'm not trying to sell you anything here. I'm just trying to help you understand the bees and become a better beekeeper. So hopefully you learned something. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. You have a great day now. Bye-bye.